was going to ask you, why did you want to convert that, what was obviously written as a speech before and a book was written later, I presume that's correct. What made you want to change that speech, which had a fantastic impact, being a speech of about, 20 minutes or so?
No, I think it ended up being close to 15. It was meant to be 8 or 10, but they didn't ring the bells. I just kept on talking. But no, let me say first of all, I didn't want to convert it, and it was not a written speech. It was just an off-the-cuff speech with just some notes in my hand. But what happened was that when the speech went so viral on YouTube, and millions of people were viewing it, and so on, my publisher David Davida, who's also Kanish's publisher, called me and said, "Look, you got to make a book out of this." And I said, "Why bother? Doesn't everyone know this already?" And he said, "No, everyone doesn't know this, so your speech wouldn't have gone viral." That's what persuaded me that there was some value, that the very way in which this had been received, and so many people were speaking and behaving as if their eyes had been opened to something they should have known as Indians, that maybe I did need to write something they could go back and refer to, which would obviously be more substantive than a 15-minute speech could be.
Did it require a lot of historical research?
It did. It did, and I'm very privileged and fortunate that the internet era is upon us, because the amount of research and reading I had to do for this book, in the earlier days, say at the time that I did my doctorate, which is now 4 decades ago, I would have had to go to a dozen libraries, spend hours in musty bookshelves, and taken further hours writing down scrawling little handwritten notes. Whereas here I was able to get a couple of researchers, tell them what I was looking for, and piles of original documents, entire volumes from the 18th, 19th, early 20th centuries, new scholarly articles by contemporary scholars. Everything was available to me on a Google Drive to be perused in comfort in my own study. So to that degree, modern facilities made my life much easier. Of course, it helped that I was writing on a subject in which I already had a fairly coherent view. But obviously, I always explain to people, I don't really think there is any truly objective history in that everyone has a point of view. But as long as it's based on documented facts, then you're entitled to choose the facts you wish to focus upon. Others may choose other facts and construct a different meaning to those facts. But for me, I found more than enough evidence to substantiate the arguments I had made in the Oxford speech. And indeed, I have gone into greater depth on many of those issues, obviously, than I could have in a speech.
If I can just be a bit provocative, what took you so long to make this point? Why did you wait so many years since you've been writing for so long?
Yeah, I look back on it and I ask myself the same question, because these were things that had obsessed me for a very long time. I was always a bit of a history nut. Recently, a family member stumbled across a notebook written in my St. Xavier school days when I was 14 years old, which consisted of history essays the school had not required me to write. So the teacher had not assigned this as homework. It's just that I was never satisfied with what the textbooks told me, so I'd gone to the library and looked up other books and written essays for myself on aspects of modern Indian history. So, captivated was I by the subject. So I'd always been obsessed. I did my history honors at St. Stephen's College. And then I suppose I would, at that point, not have presumed to think I was qualified to write a book, though I enjoyed reading them. And I also probably felt that what I believed was in many ways what any serious reader of Indian history was bound to conclude on the basis of the available evidence. So maybe it took those 40 years of people not giving it that kind of repeated emphasis in their studies and allowing themselves to forget what had happened. Maybe it was all of that that was necessary before a book like this would find its place and its time.
Talking about internet research, Kanish, did you have to do a lot of internet research for your book? Whether what causes the aurora australis, or whether a ship's captain at sea can get asthma in the rarefied atmosphere of the North Pole? Sorry, I just chose the medical aspect.
No, yes, there is some internet research in the book, and it is obviously a useful resource. But I think that points more to the fact that when I'm writing fiction, I'm not just thinking about, say, the functioning of relationships or necessarily the way a plot would work. I am interested in bringing in facts and stories and legends from other places, and often, the quickest thing to do is to do a Google search. But no, in general though, when you're writing fiction, which it's very different from working on a work of non-fiction, you're trying to be immersed as much as possible in the work itself.